Rome. The year is 390 BC. The city is burning. Gallic warriors have torn through every street, every temple, every home. What's left? Ash. Rubble. A handful of survivors staring at the ruins of their world. This wasn't even a real city yet, just villages scattered across 7 hills. Most places would have died right there. But Rome? Rome became something the world had never seen. Over 1 million people. Marble temples clawing 10 stories into the sky. Aqueducts defying gravity itself. Using modern AI tools, I've reconstructed ancient Rome at its absolute peak, based on historical records and archaeological evidence. We're going to step inside actual buildings, move through crowded streets, and feel what it was like to stand there. 70 million people. 3 continents. 1 empire. All controlled from one city. First, I want to talk about where that power lived and breathed. Where every decision that shaped the Western world was made. This view shows the Roman Forum, the political heart of the most powerful empire on Earth. This isn't just a plaza, this is where history turned, where speeches sparked revolutions, where flames burned for 1,000 years, where empires rose and fell on a single vote. And there are specific spots here, exact locations, where you can almost hear the echoes. Look at this building. The Curia. The Senate House. 600 senators inside these walls debating laws that govern 70 million people. And here's what's incredible. This building still stands today. You can walk inside right now, stand where senators stood 2,000 years ago, and touch the same marble. But the real drama? That happened just outside, right here in the plaza. This platform, the rostra. After Julius Caesar was assassinated, Mark Antony climbed these steps and gave a speech that changed everything. Ancient sources tell us he held up Caesar's blood-soaked toga, read Caesar's will aloud, revealed that Caesar had left money and gardens to every Roman citizen. The crowd went insane. They burned Caesar's body right there, in the middle of the Forum. On that exact spot, Romans built this temple. The Temple of Julius Caesar. He became the first mortal declared a god. You can visit this temple today. People still leave flowers, but if you asked any Roman which spot in the Forum mattered most, they'd point here. This small circular temple, the Temple of Vesta. Inside, a fire burned continuously for over 1,000 years. Romans believed that if that flame ever went out, Rome itself would fall. 6 women, the Vestal Virgins, tended it in 30-year terms. They had to remain virgins. Breaking that vow, buried alive. But these 6 women held more power than almost any man in Rome. They could own property, free condemned prisoners with a word, walk through the city with absolute authority. When Christianity ended the tradition in 394 AD, Rome collapsed shortly after. Maybe they were right about the flame. The temple's ruins? Still there today. You can stand where that eternal fire once burned. One plaza. The Senate. The sacred flame. The platform where empires turned on a single speech, but we barely started. Because just up this hill, the emperors built something even more insane. This is Palatine Hill. The emperors didn't just build a palace here, they took the entire hill. The whole thing. And what they built? Unbelievable. It started with Augustus, Rome's first emperor. He built the Domus Augusti. Compared to what came later, it's almost modest. But this is where it began. Where the idea of an emperor living above the city, literally looking down on everyone, became reality. You can tour these rooms today. Walk through Augustus's bedroom. Then, centuries later, Emperor Domitian decided modest wasn't enough. He built the Domus Flavia, a ceremonial palace so massive it could host banquets for hundreds. Throne rooms with ceilings 30 meters high. Foreign kings walked in and instantly understood Rome's power. Right next to it, he built a second palace, the Domus Augustana, his actual home. Private bedrooms, personal baths, gardens no visitor ever saw. 2 palaces, one for show, one for living. The ruins survive today, and when you walk through them, the scale is breathtaking. But wait, it gets better. Domitian built his own private stadium, 160 meters long. His own personal arena where he could watch chariot races and gladiator fights without leaving home. Keep in mind the Circus Maximus, seating 150,000 people, was right down the hill. Apparently that wasn't exclusive enough. He needed his own. You can still see this stadium today, carved into Palatine Hill. While Domitian watched private games down below, the real madness was happening. The Circus Maximus, the largest stadium ever built in the ancient world. Over 150,000 Romans packed inside to watch chariot racing, the most dangerous sport in history. Drivers raced at 75 kilometers per hour. Crashes were so violent Romans called them shipwrecks. Charioteers tied the reins around their waists. If they crashed, they'd be dragged to death. But if they survived, one famous driver earned enough in his career to feed the entire city of Rome for a year. And the fans were just as extreme. Romans divided into 4 factions: blues, greens, reds, whites. Loyalty was so intense that riots killed thousands in the stands. This wasn't entertainment. This was obsession. The Circus Maximus is mostly ruins today, but you can still walk the track where those chariots raced. But Rome's most infamous venue? This one, the Colosseum. Smaller, just 50,000 seats, but it survived 2,000 years. And the violence inside was far worse, because here death wasn't an accident. It was the point. Over 3 centuries, 400,000 people died in this arena. Gladiators, criminals, prisoners, slaves, hundreds of thousands of animals slaughtered. Lions from Africa, bears from Germania, elephants from Egypt, hunted nearly to extinction just for Roman crowds. A typical day started with executions at dawn, creative, brutal public killings, animal hunts at midday, gladiator combat in the afternoon. But what made it possible was hidden beneath your feet. Under the arena floor, a 2-story maze where slaves operated 28 elevators, sending animals and fighters up through trapdoors. From the crowd's view, a lion just appeared like magic. They never saw the machinery, only blood. During the 100-day opening games alone, 5,000 animals died. This went on for centuries. And here's what's remarkable. You can tour the Colosseum today, walk through those underground tunnels, stand in the arena where it all happened. Blood, speed, spectacle. But when Romans weren't watching death, they were deeply religious. And they built temples throughout the city. Most honored a single god. But this one was different. The Pantheon, built to honor all the gods at once. Emperor Hadrian's insurance policy. Some details in this reconstruction are guesses. The bronze fittings were stripped away long ago, but the building itself, nearly perfect. The Pantheon is the best preserved structure from ancient Rome. And for good reason. It's an engineering miracle. The concrete dome spans 43 meters across with 0 internal supports. Just one opening at the top, the oculus letting in light and rain. You can walk inside today, right now, and stand under the same dome Romans stood under 1900 years ago. This design influenced architecture for 2,000 years. The Florence Cathedral, the US Capitol, countless others. It only survived because it became a church in 609 AD. Otherwise, it would have been torn apart like every other Roman temple. When you visit Rome, this is a must-see. The feeling inside is indescribable. The Pantheon was stunning. But it wasn't Rome's most sacred building. That was the Temple of Jupiter, sitting on top of Capitoline Hill, rising directly above the Forum. Built in 509 BC, one of Rome's oldest temples, dedicated to Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva. This is where triumphal processions ended. After conquering new lands, generals climbed this hill with prisoners, treasure, and armies to sacrifice to Jupiter. For 800 years, this temple was the spiritual center of the empire, visible from everywhere. But unlike the Pantheon, it didn't survive. Fires destroyed it multiple times. Today, almost nothing remains, but you can still climb Capitoline Hill and stand where it once towered. Temples gave Rome spiritual power. The empire was built on one thing: military force. And breaking centuries of tradition that banned armies inside the city, emperors stationed their bodyguards here. The Castra Praetoria, home of the Praetorian Guard. The Praetorian Guard, Rome's elite. 10,000 soldiers, the emperor's personal bodyguards, paid 3 times more than regular troops. Unlike other legions at distant borders, the Praetorians lived right here in Rome in this fortress built in 23 AD. This violated Roman law, but emperors needed protection. Sometimes the Praetorians provided it, sometimes they murdered the emperor instead. They assassinated at least 13 emperors, overthrew dynasties, once auctioned a throne to the highest bidder. The Castra Praetoria had thick walls, not to defend against enemies, but to contain the most dangerous force in Rome. Sections of these walls still stand today in modern Rome. How could you spot a Praetorian? That red horsehair crest running side to side across the helmet, that marked elite guard. The silver scale armor, the red oval shield with scorpion symbols. The ornate sword, all identified him as the emperor's inner circle. But their look changed constantly. On campaign, standard gear. In the city, often civilian clothes. At ceremonies, this elaborate version. While emperors worried about their guards, ordinary Romans depended on something more vital: water. And this is how they got it. This view shows the Aqua Claudia, one of Rome's 11 aqueducts. 69 kilometers from mountain springs straight to Rome. And this is what it looked like entering the city. Stone arches 27 meters high, tall as a 9-story building, carrying water on top. Romans walked beneath these every day. One of the greatest engineering feats in history, casually delivering fresh water overhead. The Aqua Claudia alone supplied hundreds of thousands of people daily, powered by nothing but gravity. And here's what's incredible: sections still stand today, nearly 2,000 years later. You can see them outside Rome, these massive arches still reaching toward the sky. But Rome was more than monuments. It was a living city of over 1 million people. So where did they live? Picture yourself an ordinary Roman. You wake up in an insula, a multi-story apartment building. 90% of Romans lived in these. 5, 6 stories tall, built cheap with wood and brick. Your family shares one room. Crowded. Loud. The higher you live, the cheaper the rent. But also no water, no kitchen, and if fire breaks out, you're climbing down narrow wooden stairs through flames. Collapses were so common that emperors passed laws limiting heights. If you lived on the 6th floor, you were always one spark away from death. Every morning, you'd leave and head somewhere like this. Trajan's Market, built into a hillside. Over 150 shops across multiple levels. Ground floor had small shops selling everything. Spices from the east, fresh fish, wine, olive oil, fabrics, pottery. Upstairs, warehouses and offices where the real business happened. Romans worked here, traded here, made deals. The economy of an empire in one building. And remarkably, Trajan's Market still stands today. You can walk through these ancient shops, climb the same stairs Romans climbed every day. After a long day, every Roman wanted one thing: the baths. The baths of Trajan covered 11 hectares, thousands of people at once. Bathing in Rome meant hours. Exercise in the gym, swim, sweat in hot rooms, cold plunge, meet friends, gossip about politics, make business deals, maybe eat. Entry cost almost nothing, just a coin, so everyone came. Slaves, merchants, senators. All those aqueducts we saw, the water ended up here, heating these enormous complexes, filling pools, giving ordinary Romans a quality of life that wouldn't exist in Europe again for over 1,000 years. The ruins of these baths still stand today, and walking through them you can still see the pools, the heating systems, The scale of it all. 1 million people. One city. Rome did it first. And to make it work, they had to invent the modern city. They built insulae, 5- and 6-story apartment buildings, the world's first high-rises. They built the Aqua Claudia, 69 kilometers of stone arches carrying 190,000 cubic meters of water daily. They built Trajan's Market, 150 shops stacked on multiple levels. Ancient Rome's Mall. They built the Colosseum and Circus Maximus, stadiums holding 200,000 people combined. They built the Baths of Trajan, 11 hectares where everyone bathed together. And they built it to last. The Pantheon's concrete dome, still standing after 1900 years, remains the largest unreinforced concrete dome ever built. Rome didn't just build a city, they answered a question nobody could answer. How do you make 1 million people work? Fast forward 2,000 years. New York, London, Tokyo, Shanghai. Apartment buildings, same concept as insulae. Sports stadiums, Colosseum design, bigger scale. Public spaces, Roman forums and baths, modernized. Concrete, still based on their chemistry. We've evolved the technology, but the foundation is still Rome. They solved it first. We've been building on their blueprint ever since. And here's what gets me. You can visit almost everything we just talked about. The Senate House, the Pantheon, the Colosseum, Palatine Hill, Trajan's Market, the aqueducts. They're still there. You can walk the same streets, touch the same stone, stand where emperors stood. 2,000 years later. That's how well they built. That's how close the past actually is. Thank you so much for watching. What city or moment in history should I reconstruct next? Let me know in the comments below.